Now, here's more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston, as the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. If you're just joining us, we're talking this morning, at least for the first half of this program, about all of these sellers that have tried selling their home last year or in previous months, and the job just didn't get done. The house didn't get sold, and they're probably off the market right now, and they're trying to figure out, all right, so what's the game plan? Do I put it back on the market now? Do I wait? Do I interview other agents, or do I stick with the same agent? What should I do? Should we change our marketing approach? Do we need to do some things from a condition perspective to update the house or change some curb appeal? What needs to be done in order to get the job done is the question that people are asking. And as I remarked in my first segment of the show, we over 75% of the listings that we sold last year were previously listed by other real estate agents. So what I want to focus on is how we rebrand a property. How do we reintroduce it to the market and find success in selling the property without going in and saying, okay, great. So you want to sell your property, all you got to do is drop the price 20% and I'll get you a sale tomorrow. That's not what I'm talking about. In many cases, we don't change the price at all. It's just a different approach. Finding the buyers, finding out what it is about that property that is so attractive. How can we take that information, extrapolate this story or this overall interest in the home using the natural qualities within it, and overlaying that with the location and the benefits of the neighborhood and the area and the lifestyle, and then finding buyers that are looking for something like that and then marketing to them. You've got reactive marketing, which would be things like putting it on the MLS and putting it on Zillow and Trulia on Realtor.com and the 5,000 plus other websites that we put our homes on. And then we wait for people to contact us based on our advertisements for your home. But there's a totally other side to this, which is the proactive part of marketing. Going out and proactively finding buyers, picking up the phone, making contacts, open houses, all kinds of things. And I will focus on that in just a moment. And as I mentioned, my team is making 20,000 outbound dials per week to people that are interested in either selling their home or buying a home. We're calling neighborhoods. We're calling real estate agents. We're calling our database of almost 200,000 people, and we're working it. We are making calls. We're making contacts. And as I mentioned, it was 27 deals is what we did last year by just picking up the phone and having conversations with people. So when people say it's the market or it's just not the right time, I'm here to say that is incorrect. Any property can sell, and the litmus test for that is that if I were to put your home on the market for $1, would it sell? Of course it would. But are you going to take $1 for your home? Is the market going to accept $1 as fair market value? Of course not. So the idea that a property can't sell is a farce. It is not true. It is how you position the property and how you get buyers to agree with our perception of value. And of course, that perception of value has to be determined by looking at what other people have paid for similar properties. It's not like we can be in a $300,000 neighborhood and say, well, I think my home is worth $375,000, so that's what I want to sell it for. And there are plenty of sellers out there that have very aggressive opinions about the value of their home. And so I'm not putting all of this on the agent, because there have been plenty of appointments. I can't probably tell you the dozens of appointments that we went on last year where it just wasn't a good fit. We cannot help the seller at that price. And I'm not one of those agents that's just going to tell you what you want to hear so that I can get your listing, so that I can put my sign in your front yard, and I can use your listing to get leads to sell other people real estate. There are way too many agents in this market that are using that tactic as a way of growing their business. And I don't leverage my clients in a way that harms them to find new business. Because what happens? You put your home on the market, it's clearly overpriced, like so many of the properties in Charleston are right now. And they sit and they sit and they sit. And either the agent is too afraid to have an honest conversation with the seller about what that price should actually be in order for that home to sell, because they're afraid you're going to say, oh, well, that's just too low. I mean, we're not interested at that price. We might as well just take it off the market. Well, they don't want to have that conversation because they're getting leads off your listing. Or they are just incompetent and they can't figure out how to price the property. So what they do is they play the safe game of, okay, well, here's the average price per square foot in your neighborhood, and your home is kind of consistent with what everything else is selling for. So let's just put it at this price per square foot, and we'll let the buyers tell us whether it's priced right or not. That was a great strategy a year and a half, 2 years ago. But as our market continues to shift, I'm here to tell you that buyers are very both educated and opinionated on value, because we've reached the point in our market where in many areas of Charleston, affordability is now an issue, and it's halting sales because buyers have finally put their hands up and they said, hold on, that is too much for that property. When you couple that with a 5.5% interest rate, I am no longer interested at that property at that price. I mean, look at so many different homes in Mount Pleasant that, I live in Mount Pleasant. I love Mount Pleasant. We've got a great spot on the water in Mount Pleasant. But if I were to buy now at the price that my home is worth versus what I bought it for almost 4 years ago, it would be a huge amount of sticker shock. And it might have prevented me from moving to that new location, because when I bought the house that I live in now 4 years ago, we had just finished like a $75,000 remodel on our previous home, which was in Walkendale Lakes in Mount Pleasant. And this was like literally a week after we finished that renovation, which was a roof, windows, HVAC units, encapsulating the crawl space, encapsulating the attic, and then a few random things inside the house. We'd already done round one of renovations. So it's not the kind of fun money that you get to spend where you get to see this huge transformation in your house. We were doing what we needed to do to make sure that our house was in good condition, that it was maintained, and that it wasn't going to be an issue for years and years and years to come, because we planned on staying there for a while. But a new listing hit the market. We said, hey, we cannot let this opportunity go by. We have to buy this house. So we did. We bought it, and then we sold our house, and everything was great. But at some point in time, when you have buyers out there with the ability to pay for your house, they might not have the willingness based on their perceived value of your property. So what I think is happening with all of these properties that have come off the market is that, yes, we are sitting down with them and we're saying, look, this is where you started your price. This is where your price is now. Had you listed at the price you were at now 6 months ago, you might have sold it for that. But now here's what's happening in the market, and here's the trend that you need to be aware of, which is in many cases causing sellers to reduce their price a little bit because it was just overpriced. Sales in some areas of Charleston have actually gone down a little bit. Prices have gone down, and that's only because the rate by which properties have hit the market at a higher price than the property that previously sold a month ago, that is starting to halt. This whole game of leapfrog pricing where, hey, John down the street sold his home for $400,000, so I'm going to list mine for $415,000. And then Sally lists her home for $425,000. And then Jeff lists his for $439,000. There have been plenty of neighborhoods in the Charleston area that have had sales halted because agents continue to promote a price appreciation curve that was not supported by actual values or actual willingness among buyers to pay those prices. So as a result, they sat, and the sellers are still hearing it's a seller's market. So they're saying, well, what are you doing, Mr. Agent? Why isn't this home sold? And the agent's scratching their head because they've been so used to sticking a sign in the yard and putting it on the MLS for the past few years that they're scratching their head too. They don't know why it isn't sold. They had expected it to sell in the first 30 days. So agents are not monitoring the market. They're not in tune with the trends within it as much as they should be. I mean, I have to be because I'm on the radio every week talking about the real estate market. I run a team of 20 people and we sell a few hundred homes a year. So naturally, just given the fact that we're so entrenched in the market and doing, a sale, every day and a half, every 2 days, we know the market and we know the Tri-County area because we sell everything from, Megget to Monk's Corner and everything in between. So I think that the people that are scratching their head right now saying, okay, what do I do? Do I put my home back on the market now? Do I wait until spring? Do I change agents? Do I change marketing plans? Do I change my price, conditions, so on and so forth? Unfortunately, it's not a one-size-fits-all answer. I sit down with people individually and we look at, okay, let's look at what's happening in your very specific section of this market. what's your competition doing? How many price reductions have they had? Are they stagnant as well? Do we have an opportunity to list your property for slightly less than where you were previously listed and cut them out at the knees and get the sale? How many people are actually buying properties in your area on a monthly basis? Let's go outside the neighborhood a little bit and say, okay, well, if I have $500,000 to spend in Mount Pleasant, what are all my different options? Maybe I'm interested in Mount Pleasant, but I'm not tied to a specific neighborhood. See, so many agents just pull up comps for the neighborhood to arrive at the price, but what they're not taking into consideration is the fact that, hey, if I've got money to spend, I'm looking at different areas of Mount Pleasant. What does that competition look like? And when you start to see a market shift, it's almost more important to look at your active competition versus what has sold over the past 6 months. What's sold in the past 6 months is your barometer for value. But what your active competition is doing is what allows you to position yourself to get the next buyer. You always want to be in the top 3 of the 3, 5, 10, 20 homes that a buyer is going to look at in that area, in that price range. So yes, there are instances in which you need to adjust your price. And when we come back, I want to talk about marketing. What are some of the tricks that we use to increase appeal online? What are some of the things that I consistently see agents doing wrong or not doing at all? We're going to talk about curb appeal and condition and how we can work our way around that. And then finally, in the latter part of the program, we're going to talk about the 2 new guides that I've written that I'm going to give away for free to you guys, obviously. I'm not charging anything, but it's a homeowner's guide to remodeling and then how to interview a contractor. If you don't have time to stick around for the entirety of the program, remember we play this Saturdays at 9 and Sundays at 10. But all you have to do is text the word guide to 843-345-1273. Again, text the word guide to 843-345-1273, and I will send you 3 separate guides, or you can tell me which ones you want and don't want. A homeowner's guide to remodeling, how to interview a contractor, and 90 things to do to sell your home for the most money possible. So again, text the word guide to 843-345-1273. That's my cell. Call or text that number if you want to talk with me about real estate, or of course, visit us online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. And stick around for more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show right here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Stay tuned for more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on 1250 WTMA.